IPMNation.com.
You know what, Bob? I think this sounds like a great time. Maybe we should cue the open. What do you think?
Yeah.
That sounds good. Let's try it. Well, who knows? Let's try it.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Good morning, it's Brian, and I wanted to remind you that I am passionately dedicated, wholeheartedly committed to this one thing. I start my day and end my night, at least most nights, thinking about you and how we can together disrupt the distorted opinion you have of yourself once and for all. I'm not interested in the watered-down, inauthentic, herd-approved version of us. And neither should you be. We're talking about the real you, the true you, the all-natural you sitting at your core, waiting for you to unleash it. So enough head games. No more brainwashing, no more blind spots, no more personal apathy and atrophy that'll lead to amnesia. And why is that so important? Because I believe I've been able to prove over the last 30 years of study that the key, the one and only key, to personal happiness, spiritual fulfillment, and professional success is to recall, revive, and release your inner superhuman, your all-natural being, and the myriad natural resources that are hardwired, born in you. You deserve to live your life at the pinnacle, and I'm going to show you how. You were born fully capable of leading a truly spectacular life, and it's my job to remind you of that each and every day. The people holding you back have grown comfortable in their own lethargy. And believe me, that particular form of misery loves company. So if you choose to hang out with me here, your days of surrender are over. No more self-imposed barriers. No more personal limitations fabricated out of fear. No more hobbled souls. It's time to unleash your superhuman. Your inner superhuman, Bobby. So let's hit it. Good morning, Bob. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm kind of digging it here. We're coming to you from downtown Aurora, Illinois at the Metropolitan Co-working Space, home of 14 Blends, and has been with me last Friday and will be this week. Yep. Bob Lockwood from Full Armor Studios helping me. You know, Bob, if I say test, 1, 2, 3, test, 1, 2, 3, one more time, my head's going to explode. So thank you for helping me this week.
Well, that's why I like to count backwards.
It does change it up.
You know, I go here. Like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 9.
7, 6,
you know,
9,
all sorts of different things. Hey, there's a few things, though, on the docket.
Okay. I like that term, docket.
Unless you wanted to.
No, go right ahead. What do you got?
All right. You know, if you go to IPMNation.com.
Sure.
And / or actually on the homepage, click on the homepage. There is a little chat button. You can chat with us now.
You can chat with us. So there's a couple different ways. Well, there's all kinds of ways you can get a hold of us.
Yeah.
We still have, I believe, I'll give it out. We still have our text number, which is 331-684-SOUL. 331-684-SOUL. And if you're like me, sometimes you just like to know the numbers. You don't like know the letters. That's 331-684-7685. As Bobby said, you can go to IPMNation.com/Brian Brawdy, or just go to their main page, look for All Natural Being. There's a chat room there. Of course, you can hit us on Twitter. You can hit us on Facebook. And hopefully we can connect that way. And we're still perfecting it. You know, by this time tomorrow, we may have the ability for people to call in on Skype. Ooh. Let me back up. I'm sure we already have the ability. It's just above my pay grade right now. I'm trying to learn so much because, Bobby, all these years, I've been able to stand in front of a camera, right? You come in, you hit your X. There's 10, 15 people, depending upon the setup, and they take care of everything. But now that I'm behind the microphone, it kind of weirds me out a little bit, right? I'm doing sound checks. I'm trying to get grow accustomed to hearing the echo in my own earpiece. So it's kind of exciting for me because it's something brand new. It's live, right? We don't tape these, so if I mess up, I mess up. And it's kind of a cool thing, right? You got to get up, you get in, you do it, and let the chips fall where they may.
It's like live television, but behind a microphone.
But you know what's interesting? I never care about live TV. People say, how are you so comfortable on camera? I ignore that it's on. But when it's the microphone and we're responsible for the sliders and the this and the that, it's just it's kind of it's a new experience for me, and that's what makes it cool.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
Hey, but listen, speaking of new experiences, how about we get to the early morning meme?
Yeah.
Which we're going to post every morning, as you all know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the like.
All the usual
if you follow us, if you're friends with us, and we hang out together on any of the social media. Today's early morning meme and the theme of our show is that your mind is designed to give you a new lease on life whenever you demand it. So in any situation, Bob, when we get to that point where we go, I'm unhappy, I feel unsuccessful, I feel unfulfilled, or maybe just like IBS, remember? My irritable brain syndrome, new syndrome just recently created. Thank you very much. I'm trying to be like Big Pharma now.
Pills or anything that you can offer?
Interesting. Pills, maybe like a little, can advice be a pill? Maybe a little bit of an advice pill.
Oh, okay.
That is, again, your mind is designed to give you a new lease on life whenever you demand it. Any situation you find yourself in, you're able to say, hey, I'm not digging this. I want to make a stand right now, and I'm going to change my mind, and that, in and of itself, can give you a new lease on life.
You say that, but how hard? I mean, it seems like a lot of work, and I'm not really interested. It's easier for me to just...
To be in the rut, like we talked about yesterday?
Yeah.
Right. You know what? That's a valid point. This show isn't going to be for everybody. Some people are going to go, I'm comfortable being a couch potato. I like my life where it is. I'm doing all these things. I don't necessarily feel the need to grow. You know, I'm in a great relationship. I'm doing everything I want. But for the rest of us that might think, well, you know, I could improve in some areas. I could be happier. I could be more fulfilled. I could be more successful. That's who this show's for. So if it's too much to ask that if you find yourself in a hairy situation or you find yourself, right, confronted by something that you're not digging, if it's too much to ask to say, look, I'm going to tell my mind, because here's the thing. You run your mind. Your mind doesn't run you. Right? And people go, oh, it was a thought I had. No, your mind had the thought. That all-natural being that's kind of like the spectator of what goes on in your mind.
Right.
That's what runs the show. Your mind doesn't run you. And the key is, don't let your mind hijack your sense of self. Don't let your mind hijack your all-natural being. That's the key. Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely does make sense. The question is, though, what's the best way? I mean, it kind of the mind ups or the 20-minute victories?
Absolutely, the 20-minute victories. And again, you can start out, let's say you get up in the morning, you're brushing your teeth, or you're at lunch at work. And instead of going on and searching your phone, surfing sludging through the web, you go, hey, I get an extra 20 minutes. Let me find a little place that's quiet. Or let me find a place that's rambunctious, see if I can learn to turn the static down in the thick of the storm. But the beauty, I think, of the 20-minute victories is you incorporate them into your day. You figure out where they're going to fit. Now, some you can plan, right? I get up. We'll be talking about it next week, but the block box. I get up every morning, and for 20 minutes, I start my day in this, let's call it a room for now until we kind of out what I do every day and every night. But a room. Soundproof. Light-proof, Wi-Fi-proof, my little block box that allows me to just be inside with my own thoughts. I'm able to program one of those. I'm saying, okay, this is my 20-minute victory. This is how I start and end my day. But I'm out and about running around. I might see a billboard. I might bump into a coworker. I might hear a song on the radio. And in that moment, something kind of tweaks me. I can feel it, right? I can viscerally, in my gut, in my spine, I can feel that has that little message for me. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
And that's when I run with it, and that's what launches a 20-minute victory.
Love it. Makes sense.
All right, once again, 331-684-SOUL, S-O-U-L, or 331-684-7685. We're going to be talking all day today about how you command your mind. Your mind doesn't command you. So if you find yourself in a situation where your mind's running wild, you find yourself in a situation where it's full of phobia, full of fear, full of wanting, full of dis-ease, then And you want to get to the point where you go, hey, I'm controlling the mind, right? You're all natural beings like the remote control holder. It dictates what your mind focuses on. So take a deep breath, exhale, scan your horizon, right? Figure out what situation you're in, and then you take action. But you always want to make sure that you're running your mind. Your mind isn't running you.
And you say through the 20-minute victories and through other things like thinking about, do you try to switch what you're thinking about type thing?
You could very well. And again, you can either decide to do them or impromptu. You might be driving down the street. You might be walking your kids to school. You might be hanging out on the subway. You might be just catching a sunrise. And in that moment, here's the thing. You have to have a sense of faith. And I'm not asking you to abandon everything you've always believed. We talked about this. Just give me 1/72 of your day, 1 20-minute chunk of your day. You got to have faith that the universe, the divine, however you define it, the universe is going to show you those cairns, right? Those rock piles. They're going to show you the fingerprints of providence that we talked about. They're going to give you little tips, little secrets, little tricks, little tangents. And when you start to cultivate a belief in that there really is synchronicity, that there really is serendipity, that there really are epiphanies, that there really are chance occurrences, however you want to label them, but that the universe will communicate to you once you say, I had someone text me the other day saying that a favorite term of theirs is let go and let God. Another one, thy will be done, right, from Taoism. The Tao follows its own path, or it is what it is, right? Every religion, every philosophy around the world has this concept of letting go, right? So when you develop the faith of letting go in the moment, knowing that the universe, your destiny is there talking to you saying, you may want to go left, you may want to go right. When you train your mind, when you train your inner ear to hear it, that's when the inner orienteering kicks in, and it kind of helps you navigate whatever the moment throws you in that particular labyrinth.
Gotcha.
All right. So also I wanted to talk quickly today. You had mentioned something when we first sat down about the wisdom of the gang, of the crowd?
Wisdom of the crowd.
Wisdom of the crowd.
Yeah, the wisdom of the crowd. So I watch all sorts of television shows and whatnot, but I saw this. There was a show that I saw, and they talked about the wisdom of the crowd, and there was an admiral that was able to locate a missing submarine within a few miles of itself. He had kind of polled his group or his team there, and they were able to find it. And a lot of scientists and whatever were saying, hey, the wisdom of the crowd actually can really work in your favor, because if you talk to a group of people, they can kind of average out an opinion. So what do you think of that?
I would say that you have to watch the crowd. Like we spoke of yesterday. I'm not saying disregard or ignore advice from everyone. We talked about don't be a pincushion. Right. Don't let people leave you their baggage. I think it was Gandhi that said, I don't let people walk around in my mind with dirty feet. Right? So just put out your welcome mat. Make sure before you let anything in, they've taken off their dirty shoes. They're not walking around with their dirty feet. But what we'll do is that when we're confronted by that type of advice, the admiral was able to poll people whose sense of passion was finding a sub. He didn't get on Twitter and go, hey, let me poll 100 people and see where they think the sub is, right? He polled experts. It's like, so when I go to the dentist, dentist goes, what do you think? I go, I don't know. You're the dentist. You tell me. I really can be quiet, right? I make her like duct tape my hands to my side so I can't
Especially
talk.
if he's got his hands down you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, which I always wonder about that. So how's your day? Really? You got your hands crammed in my mouth. I can't answer that. But the point I'm trying to make is that in some situations, when you seek out expert advice, that's a little different than the flip side of the wisdom of the crowd. You see the flip side of the wisdom of the crowd every time you turn on the TV and there's a riot, there's a protest. I'll get the study and we'll refer back to it tomorrow so people have the actual article that I'm thinking of in my mind. But a case showing that like 10% are passionate, 50 or 60-some% are kind of like hangers-on in the crowd, and then a small percentage have the instigators, those people that are like, yeah, let's get them. They don't even know what they're getting, but like, yeah, let's get the crowd. And that wisdom, which I'd offer isn't wisdom, that wisdom of the crowd is the herd. That's when you take other people's advice. That's when you treat your heart and your head like a pincushion, right? Right. And these walking, talking Venus flytraps, they can't wait for you to land. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
Snap you right up. That's the wisdom of the crowd that I would be careful of. But when it comes to the Admiral, and I think if you look a little further into that story, he polled people who are expert at checking sonar, at checking radar, whether they were in the sub or whether he was on a ship.
Yeah,
they were experts at that one thing, and that's why polling them worked. So again, we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm simply suggesting that in some situations, advice is great. In other situations, don't let your head or your heart, right? Don't let it be treated like a pincushion.
Absolutely.
And don't let these other things in.
No, okay. That's it.
Hey, Bobby, we're going to run to, excuse me one second, we're going to run to a quick break. We will be right back. So there you go.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
All right, Bobby. So as we say, how much longer are you going to let them hijack your head and your heart, right?
Well, because I'm lazy.
No. Well, listen, you say lazy. And I'm not saying, look, there are plenty of times to be lazy. There's plenty of times to be like, look, there's nothing cooler than kicking back on the couch. I'm told there's nice weather here in Illinois. It's been like 13 years.
Your definition of nice. Well, we have had a mild winter.
That's what makes it so tough. It'd be 70 one day and 10 the next. It's like getting on an airplane and flying to the Bahamas or wherever.
I'm going to say this, and you're going to get a ton of hate mail, but if this is global warming,
out your email address,
and I'm just saying,
okay.
Super nice out.
Okay, well, let me just say this once again. Thank you. I'm going to have an announcer record this.
Just in
case. The views
you
expressed by Bob
exactly.
are not necessarily the views of anyone here at Metropolitan Co-working, 14 Blends, IPM Nation. And let me tell you, chances are pretty good they're not necessarily my views either, but we'll work with that. All right, I want to get back to this concept of hijacking your heart and your head. Sometimes it's good to listen to the advice of people, right? You go to your doctor, if it's someone you trust, you've got a track record, but you still want to do some research, right? You still want to get an intuitive sense of whether that's advice you should listen to or not. But what I'm most concerned with when I get a chance to work with people or talk with people and they say, Bri, how would you handle this? How would you do that? My big concern is they listen to people that shouldn't be in the position to give them advice. They listen to people, and I've said this a couple times now, me included. I wouldn't listen to me. I would go into your 20-minute victory, and if I'm right, your superhuman is going to call out to you. Your all-natural being, as long as you practice and you get to that point, your all-natural being is going to confirm what I'm saying. That's the voice I want you to listen to. Who am I, right? I'm simply telling you, over the years of study, here's what I've found. In the darkest moments of my life, and in some of the happiest moments of my life, right? That's why we talk all the time about self-help industry tactics. Oh, never be unhappy again. Who would want that? Oh, never be challenged again. Life will be easy. You'll never have to work hard again. Who would want that in their life? That's not life, right? That's not life. Life is supposed to be searching for a port in the storm. Life is supposed to be just hanging out and relaxing at times, preparing until you have to ramp up your energy. That's what life's about. People go, I never want to be unhappy again. Why would you never want to be unhappy again? I'm not saying be down. I'm just saying embrace the moment. Magnify the moment, right? Light a candle as a psalm, right? In this moment, embrace what comes to you. Decide if you're going to let it in. Mm-hmm. If you can let it in, it's because it's a benefit to you. If it's not a benefit, don't let it in. Square your shoulders with it and get through it. Don't try to hide from it. Don't cover your eyes thinking. In law enforcement, there's a term called cover and concealment. And the difference is cover, you can't take a shot. Meaning cover would be a cement barrier. The bad guy or bad girl can't see you and they can't shoot you. Concealment means they can't see you, but a bullet could get through it. So concealment would be like a bush. Oh. So everyone's like, oh, I'm concealed. I can't see it. It can't see me. That's the difference between concealment and cover. Cover yourself. Don't let it in. But if you just ignore it, like, oh, I won't look at it. I can't see it. It can't see me. Its negative effects could still get in. So the best way to have cover is to fall back, right? Fall back to the position of your all-natural being, your superhuman, and then decide, is this something I'm going to let in or not, right? Gandhi's 30 feet. Am I going to let him in or not?
Well, I agree with that. And let me just kind of add, if you will.
Sure.
Can't remember the guy's name. I think it's Jim Rohn.
Okay.
And he is...
I think it's Rohn.
Jim
Rohn. Is it like the motivational speaker?
Yes. Yes.
Really smart guy?
He talked about, if you're going to fail, that's cool. That's totally good. Fail big.
Sure.
Take it in.
Right.
Kind of, not take it in, but just like, that's the pain.
Right.
And then move on. It's kind of like an athlete. When you work out, you're like, oh, man, this really just is awful. I mean, you're just sore afterwards, right? I mean, you've worked your muscles out. You've hurt. You're like, why did I ever do that? I mean, I'm that's what I'm told. I've never done that.
But I watched you run yesterday. What are you talking about? I watched you sprint.
It was because there was a cannoli involved. That's why. But
as it would be. Right?
But he said, big when you fail hard, but fail fast as well.
Well, embrace it, right?
Yeah.
So don't make sure that it doesn't have lingering effects, because a lot of times we'll fail. We kind of bury it. We don't pay attention to it, and then it continues to haunt us, right? It's that little feist, that little yippy dog that in Shakespeare that talks about biting at your heel. Yeah. That little feist. That's what happens when you don't confront the fear. But in that moment, if you let it in, decide: am I going to keep it? Am I not going to keep it? Is there a lesson? Thumbs up. Isn't there a lesson? Thumbs down. And then, as you say, move on. Because outside of this moment, it only has the ability to affect you if you let it. Right? Remember, your all-natural being controls your mind. It holds the remote control. So if you imagine it as a TV, your all-natural being has the remote. The TV is your mind.
Right.
Right? But suppose someone else hijacks the remote. I call it chatterdom, right? The crowd, whoever it is, they're deciding what comes up in your mind, right?
And that's usually the children.
What could in both forms, right? But does that make sense?
Yeah.
You throw it. What's thrown up on the TV doesn't necessarily mean you have to pay attention to it. Let it in. Is there anything that I can learn from this? Is there anything that will be a benefit short term to me? And if not, don't accept the package. I think we talked yesterday about UPS or FedEx or Airborne, right? If someone comes to your house and you're supposed to sign for this package and you refuse it, package goes back on the truck, doesn't it?
Yep.
So if someone's going to give you a negative critique that there's really no, there's no pearl buried in that oyster. There's no little nugget of anything that you can use. Why sign for the package? Why? Because we're in a rut. We've grown accustomed to signing for the package. We think that just because a package is delivered, we automatically have to sign for it, right? We have to treat ourselves like a pincushion, right? Like a floor mat where people walk in with dirty feet.
I would contend. I just think that's just people in general. Because
no, it's people. It's the way they use their minds in general.
Yeah.
There's nothing. We talk about all the time, Bob, about the difference between natural and normal. And people will say, well, Brian, that's just the natural way human beings work. No, it isn't. It's the normal way. It's the couch potato way, right? It's the conformity way. It's the herd way. It's the living your life in the rut way. But it's not natural, right? It's not natural for you to let somebody in. It's not natural for you to let someone's negative opinion of you affect your day. Because no one's vote should count more than your own. But we get to a certain stage in life where we think we should live by the committee vote. We should live by what everyone around us has to say. And all I'm suggesting is you turn away from the committee vote unless there's something in that vote that's a positive benefit for you. Make sense?
Yeah, no, I would say, but like I said, I go back to it's so hard.
How is it hard? How is it hard? I don't understand.
Well, the thing is, I mean, not necessarily. Well, maybe a little bit for me, but it's just so easy to go on the negative side, or because like we talked about before, misery loves company.
Absolutely. Well, that part. When it comes to the difficulty, it's only the difficulty you assess to it. If I say something to you now about the way you're dressed, it's up to you to let it in. Now, you practice. People say, oh, Brian, that's the hardest thing in the world. I'm not negating that. I'm just saying the practice of going, I don't think I'm going to listen to that. That's not hard. That's why you progressively adapt, just like a muscle. That's why they're 20-minute victories. You can stack them. You can scale them.
Right.
You can let them come to you, or you can plan them. But what's not hard is just to go, I don't think I'm going to listen to that.
Yeah.
And it takes practice, right? It's the hardest thing in the world because everyone, like I've been being yelled at since years ago in the military, years ago in law enforcement, sergeants, lieutenants, everyone's yelling at me, right? Everyone's yelling at me. But you soon get to the point where you go, I know what my heart's telling me. Right. I know what my gut's telling me. I know how thick my skin is. And I know how thick my backbone is. Well, I'll take in what's a benefit and disregard what isn't. That's the challenge.
Can I contend, not contend, but say, because you said you've been yelled at all your life by sergeants and lieutenants and whatnot. I wonder if they're just preparing you for the future. Because as, I've noticed myself, I mean, as I grow as a business owner and I've got more customers and I've got more people, I've got different people to be responsible for. I've got different things, and it's harder problems. Right. So I'm kind of getting thickened up.
I think it's great, and I think our parents did a great job. I've said in either yesterday or maybe even as far back now. We're in the big 4 days. I said as far back as Friday. I'm not faulting parents. I'm not faulting caregivers. All I'm suggesting is you have training wheels and you have water wings.
Yep.
Right? You learn. You got to learn that fire's hot, so you don't get burnt by it. You don't let your kids run with scissors. Right? You don't let them play in the knife drawer.
Unless you don't like your kids.
Yeah, well, you don't let your kids run with scissors. Kidding. You don't let them play in the knife drawer. So there's certain lessons they have to learn. But at some point, your all-natural being, your superhuman goes, thanks for all the lessons. Right. I really appreciate you getting me to this stage in my life. Because if our parents weren't like, you should do this, or you should do that, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that, right? And I mean this in a general way. I'm not talking about if you had abusive parents or, we've all, to some degree or another, most of us, and if you didn't, God love you, but most of us had a little bit of a challenging childhood. May not have been as bad as some, maybe a little better than others, but our parents taught us those lessons. We reach a point where we go, thank you for those lessons, good or bad. I accept responsibility for my role. Now it's time for my inner superhuman to take over. I'm going to peel the water wings. I'm going to peel the training wheels, and I'm going to go slow. Right? If you're learning to swim, you don't have somebody drop you off in the middle of a lake and have the boat drive away. Right. You go at it a little. I remember when I first learned to swim, it was one lap at a time, and I could barely make it to the other end of the pool. Right? So I'm not saying that, so the first thing would have been for me to swim the English Channel. Oh, well, I decided to take up swimming, so I bought really cool goggles, and there was a self-help book that told me I needed a cap, and I needed some particular type of swim trunks, right. So I decided to swim from Miami to Cuba. Who would do that? Who would do that?
Right. No, you're absolutely right.
20-minute victories allows you to come into either pre-planned or impromptu in the moment where you find yourself. Maybe driving to work in your car. Maybe you're on public transportation. Maybe you work from your home. Every so often, take a little bit of that time, set it aside. Because people say, well, are you suggesting we should be selfish? Absolutely. Absolutely, I'm suggesting you should be selfish. Absolutely. If that selfishness is focused on your inner superhuman. Right. Because here's the other thing that's been done to us. Oh, it's always about the other person. You want to be compassionate. You want to do this. You want to do that. Then we treat ourselves like a floor mat that people get to walk all over. So I'm saying if you want to be compassionate outwardly, you have to first be compassionate inwardly. Right? Because if not, you're not playing with a full deck when you're confronted by situations in the moment, right? You have to be compassionate to yourself. You have to be able to look at the person in the mirror, right, and go, it may not be perfect, but I dig the opportunity to be here another day. And then you work on those things. I also hear a lot where people go, well, I hope one day to rid myself of all my imperfections. Why? Why would you do that? Your imperfections are like the cracks where your superhuman leaks out. I can't believe I don't remember the name of it now, but I was reading a quote that said, the most massive souls are deeply scarred. Right? If anyone remembers who the author of that quote was, it wasn't mine, so I got to give credit to someone else. I'll find it tomorrow and bring it back. But that the most massive souls, the people that make the greatest impact, are scarred. So give yourself permission to embrace your imperfections. Give yourself permission to embrace the reflection in the mirror and go, I'm not going to let anybody treat me like a pincushion. Those days are over. I'm done. I'm going to be a little selfish. Now, if after your 20-minute victory of selfishness, you go, okay, now I can be altruistic. Now I can be compassionate. Now I can be caring. Totally different story. But if you're not comfortable being compassionate to yourself, it's like a language. If you don't know how to speak French, you don't know how to speak French. If you can't be compassionate to yourself in your own mind, then you have no real compassion going out because you don't know how to speak the language. All right, Bobby, bottom of the hour. We're going to go ahead. When we come back, we'll be talking again, like all morning long, that your mind is designed to give you a new lease on life whenever you demand it.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Because it's never too late to take your life back.
All right, Bobby, we're back. So that's what we're thinking about now, right? How do we take our life back? How do we get to that point? If you're listening to us, you go, yeah, I think I'll try a 20-minute victory. Yeah. Specifically, how do you take your life back? And I ask people all the time, are there things about your life that you feel like you're not hitting on all cylinders? Are there things about your life where you would want to make a change that you feel empowers you? It may be kind of like a nagging feeling. It may be an inclination that there's something. Maybe you would like to be happier. Who doesn't want that? Maybe you would like to feel more fulfilled. And although I tend to, at times to really go off on them, everyone's talking about, oh, well, I'd like to reach my higher self. And I think I said on Monday, don't leave yourself out of it. Your self is tired of you talking crap about it, right? Your self doesn't need any help. Your self doesn't need a higher essence. Your self doesn't need a higher vibration. Your self is in there. It's got a perfect vibration. It's got a perfect essence. It's got a superhuman status. It's got all natural being. And we've kind of tied it down. What is it? Gulliver's Travels, like the little Lilliputians have a Gulliver tied down with all their tiny little threads and stakes and hammering everything into the ground to tie him down. Well, that's what happens. I'm working towards a higher consciousness. Why? Now, I know because there's all kinds of people, well, it's really important to have higher consciousness. You already have it. Why do we constantly have to look outside of the moment? Why do we constantly have to look the divine, however you define it, the divine, like a gift horse in the mouth? I've said before, big bang or big breath, exploding cosmic fireball, or God breathing life into Adam and Eve. Whatever your decision is, you're either evicted from the garden or you walked off the savannas of Africa. There's still, underlying the debate between science and religion, there's still dirt in our DNA. We're superhumans. Who is it? Calls us cosmic poetry. Jason calls us cosmic poetry. He's got a great YouTube page where he talks about Jason Silva. Calls it cosmic poetry. Think about that. Think about that. Because we know, right? Let's say you want to look at it as a scientist. We know that we're here because a star exploded eons ago. All right? If not, and you go, Bri, I believe in the Garden of Eden, not the Big Bang, but the Big Breath. I believe in the Garden of Eden. I would ask you, what did God create Adam and Eve out of?
Out of dirt.
Out of dirt. Right? Where'd that dirt come from? The universe. Right? He comes across, if in your opinion, that God created everything, there's still dirt in our DNA. Science or religion, who cares? Pulpit or petri dish, who cares? I don't. I really don't. What you have to decide is, what do you believe? Right? What do you believe? And underlying that there's dirt in your DNA. You come from the earth, no matter how anyone wants to debate how that earth got there in the first place. So because of that, you already have a higher level of consciousness. You're just not tuned into it. Right? You already have a greater essence. I'm going to meditate so that I can, I can increase my spiritual fulfillment. All I'm suggesting is your spirit is already perfectly fulfilled. You're busy listening to the static. As we said yesterday, happiness kind of like underlies all of the static in your life. You get a new lease on life when you go, you know what? I'm pretty thankful. I'm not going to treat God or the universe, the divine, however you define it. I'm not going to treat that entity like a gift horse, looking it in the mouth. Go, wait a minute, I'd like more, I'd like more, I'd like more. What if everything you have right now is everything you've ever needed? What if your all-natural being is so situated that the moment you decide to have a new lease on life, you get it? Remember, your superhuman is watching the TV screen of your mind. You decide what goes up on that screen. And then once you practice and you're doing your 20-minute victories, your inner superhuman gets to decide if it's going to flick the channels or if it's going to turn the remote off, or does it send it to DVR for a later date? But for me, that's the beauty of being put here in the first place. That's the beauty of life, is that you're dropped in the labyrinth. And in this moment, Eckhart Tolle talks about the power of now. In this moment, right now, that labyrinth confronts you with the opportunity to release your inner superhuman, to tap and deploy your all-natural resources, right? That's what life is. We weren't put here to be unhappy. We weren't put here to be hobbled souls. We were put here to be superhumans. And when you're confronted by that in the moment, you ignore the static, right? You embrace your imperfections going, hey, this imperfection is a blessing to me. It's a benefit to me. How am I going to use that to my advantage? That's when life starts to just bubble up around you. That's when your grit goes, I'm ready for this. I've been waiting for him to call on me, right? You're too young. You don't remember this, but for the people my age or older, as I said, our friend Judd says Brian's just celebrated his 49th birthday like however many times now. But I think it was called Welcome Back, Kotter.
Oh, I remember that show.
You remember Welcome Back, Kotter?
Yeah.
Do you remember Horseshack? Horseshack?
Oh, yeah, the fun... The heavier guy was there?
No. He was a smaller kid in the back of the room.
Oh, yeah.
What did he? Do you remember what he always used to do? He'd be jumping in the back room, going, "Ooh, Mr. Cotter, pick me, pick me, pick me."
He was kind of like the nerdy kid, yeah.
Ooh, pick me, pick me. Well, in a way, your inner superhuman's doing the same thing. Your all-natural being's just waiting for you to call on it because it knows why it's here. It's not here to be subjugated. It's most certainly not here to be subdued. It's not here to be unhappy, unfulfilled, unsuccessful. It's here to bring the A game. And when you start tapping into it, it's like a Horseshack in the back of the room. Oh, pick me, pick me, pick me. But what happens is so many times throughout the day, we let the TV act like Horseshack. All the distraction, all the things going on our smartphones or our tablets or in the world, or all of our fears, all of our regrets, all of our phobias, all the baggage, all the mind's entourage. Entourage, have you heard of the term?
Oh, yeah.
Like all the people, the mind's entourage.
I carry one. I've got one with me.
You have an entourage? All these people sitting out here on the corner waiting to say,
they're
hello.
They're in my head, at least.
There you go. So, right? But that's the crawl space of the mind. That's where the entourage lives.
Yeah.
And if you don't run your mind will run you. For years, and still enjoy doing it, being outside in the middle of nowhere. There's a term in the outdoor lifestyle, if you will, or the adventure lifestyle. Mm-hmm. If you panic, you perish. Right? In that moment, confronted by a life-threatening situation, or even confronted by an uncomfortable situation, if you panic, your body secretes the chemicals, right? You've all heard of all the different chemicals to kick in for the fight or flight.
Sure.
So in that moment, you have to decide, are you going to use those chemicals to help you in the survival situation, or all those chemicals, are they going to use you? At which point, drugs are running the show, right? Your body secretes all this energy. If you don't corral that energy and use it, it uses you. And all I'm suggesting, without being confronted by a grizzly bear, I've seen people run towards the moose because they panicked and didn't know what to do, so they thought running was better than nothing, and they run right towards the moose, right? They run right towards the threat. All I'm suggesting is that your mind works the same way, absolutely the same way. Are you going to use your mind, or are you going to let your mind use you?
Well, let me allow on that, because I don't know how many people are going to be out there in the wilderness trying to survive.
But they are every day.
What I was going to say is, in business, in personal, if you're going through a foreclosure, if you're going through bankruptcy, or any kind of other, and it doesn't even have to be a super dramatic thing like that, but I could see that as you start to panic, like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah, panic's panic.
What?
Panic's panic.
Yeah.
Whatever the outside situation is that you feel threatened by,
right,
it's still ultimately your representation of that situation to yourself, right?
Right.
And the list of things that you think you can do to use that situation to your advantage. So you're right. There may be not a lot of people that are going to kayak in the Everglades or hike in Denali or, walk across Death Valley in July, right? But in situations in life, they feel as if they're confronted I'll bet you there's plenty of people listening right now that have never seen a grizzly bear in the wild, but there's some situations that confront their day, a bad boss, a challenging spouse, a challenging friend, a challenging situation, and they go, a grizzly bear would have been easier to deal with, right? A grizzly bear would have been easier to deal with. That's what I'm saying.
I can totally understand, though, running towards the disaster, because I feel like I've been in those situations sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, when you get panicked and you're kind of like, and you end up running.
Well, because you have the energy, right? That's the cool thing about the way the human body is designed. When you're confronted with that threat, you got all this energy. It wants you to either stand there and brawl or boogie, right? Fight or flight.
Yeah.
So these chemicals, and there's a laundry list of them that course into your system once your body perceives a threat. All I'm suggesting, just like your mind and any other, I don't want to say normal situation, because whether it's in the wild, if it's something that's confronting you and it's negative, it's wild to you, right? Doesn't matter what the terrain is. Doesn't matter what the topography. Doesn't matter about the meteorology. If it's confronting you and you're afraid, the fight or flight kicks in. All I'm suggesting is the mind works the same way. You decide, will your mind use you, or will you use your mind? Now, there's a lot of people that go, well, I am my mind. Not really. And that's the underlying essence of why people try to meditate. This whole thing about mindfulness. I'm all over mindfulness. All I'm suggesting is that you use your mind and the cognitive cairns, right? You use your mind to help you find the clues that are left behind as to what you're to do in the labyrinth. This concept of having to find some place and adopt the lotus position, if it works for you, God love you. God love you. What I'm saying is that in your own life, use your mind, pay attention to the static, turn it down, listen for the still small voice. That's the essence of meditation. And I've all kinds of people, a dear friend of mine, someone I've known for years, called me and said, well, I'm taking up a particular brand of meditation, and they gave me a mantra. And I said, okay, what's your mantra? Oh, I'm not supposed to say. Okay, groovy. He says, have you ever do anything like that? And I go, yeah, in my meditation, I have a mantra. It's top secret, given to me by a guru on a high mountain the last time I was in China. You want to know what it is? I say, thank you. That's my mantra. In a situation, I take in a deep breath and I say, thank you. Gratitude without a target, right? Just cultivating the sense of gratitude. We said the other day that gratitude is the grease of your mind, the grease of your heart, gratitude. So my mantra is just to say, thank you. Thank you. I don't have to be any more grounded than that. I don't have to cut flowers, peel fruit, go find a guru. I don't have to do any of that. And I just want to mention this quickly, because when I said China and your question reminded me of it, particular parts of China, monkeys are everywhere. They're like as crazed as pigeons here, right? They are just everywhere. So when I was there, I was fascinated by these monkeys. They'll come up, they'll steal fruit out of your pack, they'll come up, and they're just amazing. But the locals treat them like we treat pigeons here, right? They're like a nuisance. They're a pain in the tuchus, right? They're just nothing all that exotic.
The question is, why don't we have monkeys here?
Why don't we? That would be great if we. Wouldn't that cool? You should see it. They'll run right up to you and like, hey, give me $5, right? It's amazing. The monkeys are just, it's really something else to see how truly human-like they are. But the point I'm making is that the exotic is in your mind. Because if we could bring people here and show them pigeons, and you take the moment to look at a pigeon and all the cool colorings in the feathers on their neck, all the things they need to do to survive, all their ability, all these years, eons, right? Pigeons, however long they've been around, you go, the pigeon, that's really cool. So your exotic is exotic only to you. You can find exotic in your own backyard. So people that want to go to the Himalayas, fantastic, good for you. People that want to go to this monastery or that monastery, they want to find some exotic guru from some distant land. I'm suggesting be your own guru. You want a mantra? Say thank you every so often, right? Calm the static. There you go. No meditation class. Class is canceled for today. Confront the situation that you're in with gratitude. When you do that, that's like the wake-up call. That's like the knocking. Remember Back to the Future? Hello, McFly.
Yep.
Are you in there?
Yep.
When you have gratitude, your inner superhuman goes, well, wait a minute. Gratitude. What? What's going on here? Yeah, I'm up for it. What do we got going on? I'll dovetail with that. He's finally thankful for something. I'm in. Thanks for the call, right? And then it bubbles up inside of you, and you begin. So I would suggest we don't always look for exotic in a distant land. Find it in your own backyard. Find that adventure in your own backyard. Now, I'm not saying don't travel, right? I'm not saying don't go and,
Visitors bureaus are going to be angry
all over the place. I don't think they like me anyways. But you know what I'm saying? That's a great idea. We're all looking for a visitors bureau. We're all looking for a travel agent. I'm simply suggesting right now, for 20 minutes, be your own travel agent. Sit, stand, whatever you want to do. Say thank you. Really cultivate a sense of gratitude for still being here, for having survived all the lessons that you have to get to date, for still being here. Cultivate that sense of gratitude. There's your mantra, and you're welcome to share it with anyone you like, right? It's craziness. It's crazy. Oh, I've got to go to a far distant land so I can find myself. No, you don't. You can't go and find someone else's definition of you. You're already your definition of you. Now, you let a lot of other baggage, kind of like a shellac or a veneer or paint or spackle, right? You got all this other stuff on you, but that doesn't negate the fact that your authentic you, your all-natural you, your superhuman is still inside of you. What do you got to run around the world to find it for? Go to the backyard, sit on the front porch, right? That's all you got to do.
Well, what about a fresh perspective and something different?
You can get a fresh, in my opinion, you get a fresh perspective looking at yourself differently in the mirror. You can get a fresh perspective by turning off the static for 20 minutes. Or you can get a fresh perspective for turning off the static for 2 minutes. Now, I'm not saying don't travel. I'm not saying expose yourself to other things. Yeah. I think this is the coolest time. I think it's Gary Vaynerchuk that said, this is the absolute best time to be alive. No time cooler than right now to be alive. You look at the ability to search something out on Google.
Yep.
You look at the internet. You look at Kindle. You look at Audible, however you get your books or however you read. Anyone can sit down at a computer and learn almost anything. You tell me all the time, how many billions of videos are uploaded every minute, week, month, whatever it is, to YouTube?
24 hours of video every 2 minutes, I believe.
Every 2 minutes. So now some of that video are like squirrels on electric surfboards, right? I get that. But if you have a targeted understanding of where you're tending towards, right? No goals. But you wake up, you go, oh, I saw this on a billboard driving into work. It made me think. Then I got to the office and I saw a little Post-it note on a coworker's office door that had something that kind of tied those two together. And then you go over to Google or Bing or, whatever your search engine is. Right. You go over and start to investigate. You can learn anything. You can learn anything. So maybe a part of your 20-minute victory is you get a little clue here, you get a little clue there, you get home, you sit down at the computer, and you go, okay, what do those two things have in common? Why did the universe present me with those two situations back to back? What's the synchronicity? What's the serendipity? What's the aha, the eureka moment that I'm supposed to have by deciphering, decoding the two clues the universe just gave me in the moment? That's why it's such a great time to be alive. When I was little, we had to borrow an encyclopedia from the neighbor so I could do my first ever book report on bell groups.
Right? And you were always missing C.
Yeah, well, we didn't have we didn't have encyclopedia, so I had to go back across the street and borrow one from them to be able to do it. But look at how amazing it is to be alive now.
Right.
Look at how amazing it is to be alive with the ability to learn almost anything. That's why I'm suggesting leave the gurus in their caves. Well, let them all, and I'm sure they're great people, fantastic people. But you know what I'm certain of? When it comes to you, you're more of a guru for you than they are. You're more of a guru for you than they could ever be. Right? What is it from the Holy Grail? They entered the forest, right? The Knights of the Round Table set out in search of the Holy Grail. What is the myth? What does the poem say? They entered the forest where there was no track nor path. For to follow in the footsteps of another would have only brought them shame. That a guru can give you a path, it's inauthentic. It's not your path. It's his path or her path. You got to find your own path. You got to forge off into the snow on your own, of your own volition. Right? You make your path. You go into the forest where there is no track nor path. And that's the beauty of the myth of the Holy Grail, right? Is that in order to track it down, you got to go totally off course. You can't follow anyone else's map, anyone else's GPS. You have to go into the woods where the straight way is lost because you are that straight way. right? There's a guru on the planet that knows Bob Lockwood better than Bob Lockwood. So let everyone email, let everyone call, everyone whatever they want to do. Well, how about I'll go and I'll burn some incense at his feet. God love you. Enjoy. Make sure that they'll let you get the incense through TSA if you're flying out any time today, right? I'm simply saying there's no guru on the planet that knows you better than you know you. And when you say thank you, that portion, you see all the time, namaste, right? Namaste. I worship that portion in you where you and God are one. You're like a satellite office. You're the great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchild of the divine, however you define it. Once you remember that, once you recall that, what's a guru going to do for you? Oh, well, Brian, they can show you a path, or they can do this or do that. Not better than you can. Not better than you can. It's your heart. It's your still small voice. I love that thing. I forget exactly where it comes from. What book? I think it's... I don't recall. You know what? I'll search up exactly where it comes tomorrow so that I can give the actual site. But they talk about the still small voice. It's not in the clashing rocks. It's not in the wind. It's not in the fire. It's on the inside. It's on the inside. No guru on the planet knows Bob Lockwood better than Bob Lockwood. Okay, we're going to try this one more time. Stick around. We'll be back here. Oh, look at this, Bob. It says we'll be back here in 11 seconds.
Sounds sweet. Great.
Well, let's see if I can. There you go.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Because friends don't let friends fall for self-help industry tactics.
I have to tell you, that's my favorite one. Don't let friends fall for self-help industry tactics.
So with that, have you read any self-help books? Have you taken any bullets for us?
Well, no, I haven't taken any bullets. Yeah, because I read. I mean, I have an iPad that won't even work anymore because the Kindle's just full of it. But that's what allows me to come in and say things like this, right?
Right.
Because I've read books from 50 gurus. I read a self-help book every other day for the most part because I want to make sure. Here's the thing about putting a case in front of a grand jury, right? Mm-hmm. And as I've said before, if you're a hammer, you look at everything like a nail. I'm an ex-cop. Only formal education I have is finding the clues to catch the bad guy or the bad girl. I don't want to be sexist, right? That's all I know how to do. Yeah. You get all your evidence. What do you do after that? You put him in front of a grand jury. You let the grand jury decide, do you have enough evidence to be able to go to trial?
Yep.
So for me, I read the self-help books because there might one day come something that I go, oh, you know what? I never looked at it that way. There might come that one thing that makes me go, right? Maybe I need to reframe that belief a little bit. So once I found what I believe to be the beauty of all natural being, your inner superhuman, 20-minute victories. You've heard me talk about bring your own bold, right? In a situation, just muster your bold, tap your inner superhuman and go, let's do it, right? Come into the moment hot.
Right.
Light it up. Light it up. But people are worried about that. They're not accustomed to doing it. I say, come in, bring your own bold. All those things I've developed. I believe in it. I've used them in my life. So I'm constantly on the lookout for how I could be wrong. You're my friend. You've heard me say countless times, you can't spell Brian without the I in idiot, right?
Yeah.
I know. Every time I walk in the room, everyone else is smarter than I am because I'm constantly on the hunt for what I don't know. I'm constantly on the hunt for why. Before I get up every morning, write an early morning meme, come in to do the show, everything on Facebook and Twitter, everything we do, everything at brianbrawdy.com, all the things that are coming this summer. I want to make sure I'm not wrong. And just because I've learned over 30 years that I believe in this instance I'm correct,
right?
I could find something tomorrow that causes me to amend my opinion. But what I will never amend is what I said to you earlier. Not a guru on the planet that knows Bob Lockwood. Not a guru on the planet that knows the people that listen or follow or, that I get to hang out with. Not a guru on the planet better at knowing them than they are. Stop defaming yourself. Stop the character assassination. Oh, in order for me to be happy, I have to find it outside of myself. No, enough. Stop. I'm suggesting you have amnesia. I'm suggesting you have blind spots. I'm suggesting you've been brainwashed to believe that you have to look outside of yourself, right? It's consumerism. Let's call it cognitive consumerism. You've got to look outside of yourself to be fulfilled. Well, my question is, what if you don't have a vacuum in the first place? Everyone's, I need spiritual fulfillment. Okay. What if you just kind of spackle up some of the ways that fulfillment leaks out every day because you're not thankful for what you already have?
Right.
What if that happens? Then you don't so much need to be fulfilled, do you? I would say.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. That's an interesting point of view.
All right. Well, I also want to kick around one more time as we're getting a little closer to the top of the hour here, and just and focus back one more time on your mind is designed to give you a new lease on life whenever you demand it. So as you move forward throughout today, what are some situations that you think you could give yourself a new lease on life? Right? One mind, a billion ways to use it. What would be some of those ways? Could you do it professionally, personally? Could you do it in your relationships? Could you do it physically? Could you do it athletically? Right? How could you do it? And I don't like people say, oh, I'm in an exercise program so I can lose weight. Just embrace who you are. You know, a whole cottage industry is built up about, oh, you got to have six-pack abs. I'd like you to have a six-pack mind. Right? I'd like you to be ripped. I'd like you to be shredded. And the point that I would make is we'll do a great job. Oh, I don't want any genetically modified food. I don't want any dyes. I don't want any additives. I don't want any MSG. I don't want any preservatives.
You can send all those to me. I'll take them.
You take them, right? Exactly. Right. Everyone's bad-mouthing Twinkies now because apparently you can put them on your back porch and it'll last 500 years or whatever. Right?
Oh, man,
everyone's worried about what they put in their gut.
Right.
But when it comes to what they accept in their mind, it's like the pool in Caddyshack when they let the caddies in for 15 minutes once a summer, right? You treat your stomach better than you treat your mind. All I'm suggesting is how about, instead of irritable brain syndrome, IBS, if you're going to feel bloated, dump some of the thoughts. Peel away some of the thoughts. We talk in the open about a philosophical loofah.
Right.
Scrape away those things that don't support you. Scrape away those things that are contributing to your blind spots, to your brainwashing, to your amnesia. Yes? Scrape them away. Pare them out. They're not doing you any good.
Well, I think it's just we like to be entertained, you know. So we sit, we watch TV shows, we watch news, we watch sports, whatever, and you watch it so much, and that's your thing. Or you come home after work, and you're like, I'll just sit home and, you know, become one with the couch.
Okay, great. Then all I'm asking is, right, because a 30-minute show is like 20 minutes of show and 10 minutes of commercials.
Yeah.
Then break your 20-minute victory up. Give me 20 minutes, 1/72nd out of your day. And if you don't like what I've said all morning long, God love you. Farewell. Right? If you don't like what I'm saying, then for 20 minutes, do it to prove me wrong. Say, so because I want you to call me tomorrow and go, well, Brian, I sat with myself and I was grateful for the fact that I'm here, that I'm still in the labyrinth. All this is going on. I was grateful for all that, and I didn't feel anything. If the only reason you're going to do the 20-minute victories is just to tell me it doesn't work, great. I can't wait to hear from you.
Yep.
Can't wait to hear from you. But that's the beauty of it. All I'm suggesting is remember who you are. Pre-amnesia. Right? Pre-apathy. We go through life, oh, nothing's going right for me, or this is wrong, or that is wrong. And that apathy leads to atrophy. We don't use our hearts. We don't use our heads. We don't use our spines. We don't use our grit. We don't use our all-natural resources. And when we don't use them, they atrophy like a broken leg in a cast. And then when you turn around and you need to use them, they're weak. They're feeble. They're not flexible. I'm saying treat your mind the same way. Give it as much as you do your stomach, right? If you don't like deep-fried foods, don't binge on deep-fried thoughts. Stop binge thinking, right? That's the part of the mind where, or when you talk about the wisdom of the crowd, that's the inverse of it. That's where people start to binge think because they want to fit in. They want to be special. They want to do those things. I'm telling you, you're already fitting in. You're already special. You were put here to be spectacular. Ignore all the noise. Ignore the static quo that I call it all the time. Ignore the static quo. Be who you already are. And the moment you do that, you're going to feel it. I'm confident of it. There's no debating it. You're going to feel better when you're grateful for who you already are. All right, Bobby, I want to leave it one more time. Remember today, your mind is designed to give you a new lease on life whenever you demand it.
Right.
You have the remote control. Your all-natural being watches the movie. You decide how it's going to go. I also want to make mention before we get out of here, just remember who you are and the all-natural resources that you already possess. And today, focus on those things you're ultimately capable of. Not all the things that you're sure you're going to fail at. 20-minute victory, baby steps, right? What are you ultimately capable of? No more limitations, because most limitations are self-imposed. No more excuses. No more unhappiness. It's time to bring your grit, right? Time to grandstand for yourself and do it for a 20-minute victory. Maybe one, maybe two, maybe scale them, stack them. And then I'd love to hear from you. Come back tomorrow. Leave us some information, on social media. Let us know what happened when you started with your 20-minute victories, when you demanded of yourself a new lease on life, and let me know how it worked out. All right, Bobby, thank you as always, brother. I appreciate it. Now we're going to go ahead and check out. Please look for us, I should say. Look for us at ipmnation.com/Brian Brawdy. They replay this show in case you missed it this morning at 11 p.m. Eastern, so log on there. You can check us out at brianbrawdy.com. Thank you to my friends from Metropolitan Co-working, the home of 14 Blends. Also Bob Lockwood from Full Armor Studios. Thank you for everything. Have a great day, everybody.
All right.
You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
IPMNation.com.